I'm trying something new this week, y'all. So let me know. Let me know how it sounds. I'm using a new I don't know what is it? A little add-on in my streaming app to see how. So let me know. Is it too loud, too soft? We trying something new. Look, I'm trying some new things. We gonna see how they work out. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, it is 8:00. So let us jump into it. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Happy Friday. It's Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. My name is Tiffany, and you have just tuned in to Let Tiff Teach You. I'm so glad that you are here. Okay. See, that's what I need. So glad that you are here with me this evening. All right. All right. See, that's what I need y'all to talk to me. I need y'all to talk to me because I'm new out here. I'm learning how to do this, so we're gonna do it together. And I love interaction. I love feedback. Welcome to the Friday night edition of Let Tiff Teach You. I'm Tiff, and I'm so glad that you are joining me tonight. So we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about building a healthy environment, building the kind of environment where we can start to see an abundant kingdom life, right? And so we're going to continue that conversation tonight. Ain't nothing changed but the day and the hour. We are still in that. And we are going to do a little bit of a recap tonight because I think it's really important in connection to tonight's topic. So we are going to do a little bit of a recap. But before we do that, if this is your first time tuning in, I'm so glad that you are here. I'm so glad that you are here with me tonight. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are on Facebook, from my personal page, if you are in my Lessons from the Garden Facebook group, or if you are watching on YouTube, I'm so glad that you dropped by. I hope that you will come by and see us again. If you've not had a chance to like and or subscribe, please do so. I would greatly appreciate it. And while you're at it, share this with a friend because we all want to know how to live an abundant kingdom life, right? So thank you so much for stopping by. So my name is Tiffany, and this is Let Tiff Teach You. A little bit about me. Sure, let's do that tonight. We haven't done that in a while. A little bit about me. I am a master's level social worker, and I currently work in public education. This channel, this series started because I really felt impressed in my prayer time to share with people some of the wisdom keys that the Lord has shared with me about how to live an abundant kingdom life now. And when I say abundance, I'm not talking about finances solely. They are a piece of it, but they're way down at the bottom of the list. An abundant kingdom life is one that is full of joy, peace, partnership, and community, long before it is one that is overflowing with financial blessings. So I want to make sure that we understand what it means to be abundant according to God's definition and how we move from where we are to where we are going in order to live that life, because He promised us that we could here on earth. All right, so that's a little bit about me, and I'm so glad that you are here with me. So let's jump into, first we're going to get into our review, right? So I want to do a little bit of a recap. Actually, it's probably not going to be a little bit. It might be kind of lengthy, but this is week 4. This is week 4 of our discussion on environment. And so I want to make sure that in case this is your first time here, you're like, lady, how did you get all the way here? Well, let's go back and take a look at where we started. All right. So we've been talking about environment, and first up, we talked about what was the right environment. How do we know what it takes to build the right kind of an environment? And so we identified a few things that are really important to building what is a healthy environment, the right environment for us to begin to experience kingdom life. And so some of those things really quickly were we need to trust and vulnerability in our environment, both for ourselves and for the people that are there. We also needed love and affirmation in our environment. And affirmation is not the same as acceptance, right? Affirmation is affirming my identity, not necessarily accepting my behaviors. We also need room for error and forgiveness in our environment. And last but not least, we needed accountability. All right. So those are just a few of the things. And so if you have not watched that video, I really encourage you to go back. I will link it in the description on YouTube that to go back and check out the what is the right environment video. So next up in week 2, we talked a little bit about dealing with the changing environment, right? Dealing with the changing environment. We know there's a lot of things that are shifting and changing in our world. I'm in America, and here in America and around the globe, things are moving and changing and shifting at a very accelerated pace. And so we have to understand how to deal with those changes. And so one of the ways that we deal with those changes is to acknowledge that they are happening, right? We need to acknowledge that change is stressful. It can be positive change. It can be negative change. It doesn't matter. All change is stressful. Now, sometimes that's good stress, right? But stress is stress. Let's be honest, because we should be. And change, no matter what it is, can be stressful. But one of the ways that we can manage that stress is by figuring out what is in my control. Because only the things that are in my control are the things that I can control. And especially right now, there's so many things happening in our world and maybe in our lives that are honestly outside of our control. You are dealing with the repercussions of someone else's decision making, someone else's policies and procedures. But can you identify the things that are in your control, and are you controlling them? Are you taking control of the things that are in your environment that you can? Because if you can identify those things, and pro tip, the things that are in your control are not people. All right. If you can figure out what is in your control, then that will help you deal with the changes that are going on in your world. Then the last thing that we identify when talking about dealing with the changing environment is to identify what is unchanging. So we know that first and foremost, what is unchanging? God. God is not changing. He has not changed. His word says that he is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. He is the God who was and is to come. He is constant in a world that is not. In addition to, and so maybe for some of us, God being the only thing that's unchanging may be the only thing that is unchanging. But if you acknowledge that he is, then you have a rock to hold on to in the midst of your changing environment. Some of you, though, may have some other things that you know are solid, that you can count on no matter what. It may be a friendship, it may be a partner, it might be a spouse, right? It may be a sibling, but you may have someone in your life who you look at and you know it doesn't matter what comes or goes, how high the waves come, they are going to stand with me in the storm. And so we have to be able to identify what are the things that are unchanging in our environment. All right. So that was week 2. I'm doing all right on time, y'all. I'm proud of myself. So then in week 3, the question became, well, now that I've built a healthy environment, right, and I've learned how to deal with the changes that are happening in my environment, what are the things that I specifically need in my environment, very specifically to myself? What are the things that I need? So last week I told you guys that this topic got a little intense for me, because I told the Lord, I said, I can't tell these grown people what they need because what you need is what you need, and what you need may not be what I need, and what I need may not be what you need. So God, how am I going to tell these folks what they need in their environment? And so rather than tell you what you need, I decided to share the things that I need in my environment. And some of these things, maybe you'll recognize that you need or want in your environment, and maybe you will take these in and add them to the list of things that you need. And so a few of the things that I shared that I need in my environment, first of all was boundaries. I did not, I'll just say it like that. For a very long time, I did not have very good boundaries with my family. And so that was something that I learned that I needed to have in order for me to be healthy all around. Another thing that I recognize that I need in my environment is harmony, not balance. I don't believe that balance is possible. because in order for balance to happen, everything has to be equal. I have never had a day in my life where every aspect of my life was equal. But I have had days in my life where the different areas of my life were harmonious. They were different, but they were all working together. And so I believe that harmony is much more readily available to us than balance is. Some of the other things that I need in my life that I've discovered over the last several years, rest unapologetically. I'm not coming because I'm tired, and I don't really care how you feel about it. If I need to rest mentally, emotionally, physically, then that is what I need to do. Because when I do not rest, then I do not have what I need to pour out. And so rest has become a very important part of the things that I need in my environment. I also need partners, and I need coaches, and they equal community. One of the things that I need, and I've learned I do not do well without, is community. I need to partner with people who are moving in the same direction that I am, who are on similar paths, not the same because my path is mine, right? But are moving in a similar direction and at a similar pace, because that is equally important. I need those kind of people in my life. I also need coaches. Coaches are people who are pushing me to my next, right? And who are there to encourage me and to guide me and to provide me with the knowledge and skills that I don't yet have, but I'm going to need to accomplish my next task. They equal my community, right? So if we think about all of the things that we've talked about up until this point, they really do all add up to community. We talk about, I need an environment that's full of love and trust and vulnerability and accountability. That's a community. If we talk about knowing what is unchanging, that's part of my community. To recognize that I need boundaries and partners and coaches, those things have to be there present in my environment for me to be healthy, right? So having said all of that, last but not least, in our discussion on environment, we got to talk about maintenance, right? We got to talk about maintenance. How does one maintain their environment? So this is really important. And I wanted to recap all of the things that we've talked about, because we need to remember what we need. Remember what are some of the ingredients to a healthy environment, because I'm going to give you some definitions today. Because oftentimes I find that people use words, especially when they're really common words, but they may not actually know the full meaning of these words. They know it in one way, but they just know it in that way, right? And so I wanted to make sure that we have a full understanding of what it means to maintain. I grew up in a primarily African-American poor socioeconomic community. And so if somebody told you, man, I'm just maintaining, they meant that they were literally just keeping their head above water, right? That they had just enough to stay afloat. That's what they meant, man. I'm just maintaining. I am holding the line, right? That's it. That's maintaining. But to maintain means so many more things I didn't even know, right? So I have made, so first off, let's start here. The word maintain has 8 definitions. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that until I went to go do my research for tonight, that the word maintain has 8 different definitions, and they all are very different. And so I don't have all 8, but I do have a few of them. I have 4 for you all tonight, because they all speak to what we have been talking about. All right. So the first definition of the word maintain means to keep in an appropriate condition, operation, or force, right? So that was a good one. To keep something in an appropriate condition is to maintain it. You maintain your car, you keep it in an appropriate condition, right? So that's one way to maintain. But then I wanted to pull up, so this is definition number 4, right? To maintain. To maintain means to affirm, assert, or declare. And I thought this one was interesting, and I was really like, okay, well, when do I maintain in this way? how do I maintain in this way, right? So we're going to talk about that in a second. But I want to get through these definitions. The next definition of maintain that I have for you is to keep or hold against attack. So if we think about the picture that came to my mind is was like in like the 1800s when a walled city was under attack. Like the horses and chariots and everything are coming, and the soldiers are up on top of the city, and they are holding the city so that it's not overrun by this incoming force, right? That's one definition of maintain. And I thought that one was going to be really important for our discussion tonight, right? And then the last definition I want to give to you is definition number 8, where maintain means to sustain or support. To sustain or support. And so I thought about this one when I thought about community. When I'm maintaining my partnerships, I'm sustaining them. When I'm maintaining my community, I'm supporting them in a way. So I thought that these were all very interesting definitions of the word maintain. And so when we are talking about maintaining, oftentimes we're talking about that like hood definition. It's like, I'm just keeping my head above water. But to maintain means so much more than just to keep it, right? It's to keep it, but not to keep it. It means so much more. And so when we're talking about maintaining an environment, if that environment is my physical body, if that environment is my mind, if that environment is my emotions, it really is to keep or hold it against attack. It is to affirm, assert, or declare, and it is to sustain and support, right? So all of these definitions tie into our understanding of maintaining an environment, right? And so we talked about environment is more than just your geographic location. It is the ongoing and inner workings of you, right? You are your environment. Everywhere you go, that environment goes with you. Your external environments may change, but your internal environment, where you are is where you are, right? So where your thoughts are is where your thoughts are. Where your heart is where your heart is. Where your body is where your body is. And so that is the environment that we have to keep or hold against attack. We have to be mindful to do the things that we've been discussing for the last couple of weeks in order to maintain our environment. When I'm building the right environment, right? When I'm building it with trust and vulnerability, when I'm building it with love and affirmation, I'm holding it against attacks of the opposite. I'm holding it against attacks of mistrust. I'm holding it against attacks on my character or my identity that do not affirm who God says I am. I'm holding my environment against attack. I'm maintaining it, right? So the other thing that we talked about was when we're dealing with the changing environment. When I'm maintaining my environment through change, I'm sustaining and supporting my environment. And so that means that I'm acknowledging what's stressful. It means that I'm acknowledging what is changing, what is not changing, and what is in my control. Because if I'm acknowledging what is in my control, then I'm able to sustain the environment that I have built. Because I'm not trying to overextend myself to run things that ain't mine to run. So I'm maintaining my environment. In addition, when I recognize what I need in my environment, maybe you need better boundaries. Maybe you need to consider the difference between harmony and balance. Maybe you need rest. I am asserting what it requires to maintain my environment. So I felt like all of these definitions of the word maintain really, really encapsulated, that's a good word, encapsulated what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, right? So the other thing that I have to do, so we've talked about the different ways that keeping all of these things in line help us to maintain our environment. But at the bottom of all of that, there's one thing that I have to know. There's one thing that I have to acknowledge. There's one thing that I have to accept. And that is that maintaining my environment is my responsibility. It's not anybody else's responsibility. It's mine. And so I have to have done the work prior to, in order to recognize what's my responsibility. What are my responsibilities to maintaining my peace, to maintaining my joy, to ensuring that there is love and affirmation in my environment, to ensuring that there's the right kind of accountability in my environment, to ensure that there is forgiveness in my environment. That's my job. It's not anybody else's job. And oftentimes I find that, especially adults want to lay that on, well, you ought to, ain't no oughts, ain't no shoulds. They don't exist. They are conjured in your mind. It is your responsibility to maintain your environment. And it is your responsibility to recognize what is not maintaining your environment, right? Which leads us to threats. So let's just talk about threats. Let's have a real conversation about what are the threats to my environment. Because if we're going to be honest, and we should, sometimes you're the threat to your environment. Sometimes you're the threat. You're the number one. You are enemy number one. You are most wanted in your environment. It's you, boo. It's you, sis. It's you, bruh. It's you. You're the threat. You are the threat to your peace. You are the threat to your joy because you are harboring unforgiveness, because you don't want accountability, because you want to be isolated and not be in community. Maybe you're the threat to your environment because what you are saying and what you are doing do not align, and they do not align with what God has said. So maybe you're the threat. Have you considered that the enemy is the inner me? My old pastor used to say that. And it's very true. Oftentimes, the enemy is the inner me. I'm the threat. So I cannot maintain an environment that I'm not actively aware of, engaged in, and accountable to. And that's what we've been talking about, guys. That's what we've been talking about, right? I have to acknowledge that sometimes I'm the threat. And if I'm the threat to my environment, then how do I fix that? If I'm the problem. If I'm the problem, how do I fix that? Well, if I'm not in community and I don't have accountability, then these are not things that I can fix because I can't see them, because we all have blind spots. We all have blind spots because we are human, right? And so we all have blind spots to ourselves and our habits. But if I have relationships, friends, and community that I trust and I can be vulnerable, where there's love and affirmation, then they can call me out on my trash. They can call me out when I'm being trashy. And I can hear it and I can receive it and I can recognize that, yo, I'm saying I want this, but that behavior don't line up with what I'm saying. And everybody needs somebody to pull their coattail every now and again. That's just real life. And if you're not willing to receive that, then sweetheart, you are not ready and you are not willing to walk into the abundant kingdom life that God has promised you. Because that's what it takes. It takes you to be willing, can't nobody check me, boo. Yeah, that's the world. That's not the Lord. Everybody can check you in the kingdom of God. The Bible calls us to check one another when our behavior does not align with who we say we belong to. So if I'm the threat to my environment, it is important for me to have community that can call me out and say, hey, come on back here. You better come on back here because that's too much. You're doing too much. And not in a judgmental, accusatory way, but like, girl, come on now. We have to have some loving, what I like to call my come to Jesus conversation. But if I'm talking about maintaining my environment, my mental, emotional, spiritual, physical environments, not my geographic ones, then I have to honor and own that sometimes I'll match. I'm not, I jokingly say sometimes, I'm not my most evolved self today. Because today I'm on trash. I want to cuss everybody out today. I'm gonna tell the Lord about it later, but today I'm not my most evolved self. But I'm aware of what's happening in my environment. And I can acknowledge what's happening in my environment, right? And because I'm aware, because I can acknowledge, because I have community, because I have love and affirmation and trust in my environment, then I recognize this has to change in order for me to have the environment that I say that I want. These are things that I have to adjust. And maybe today I can't move my feet on that thing. I was having a talk with a girlfriend this week, and she was talking about a situation that she's in, and she said that she hadn't felt a lot of conviction about it. And I said, well, why does the Holy Spirit need to convict you about something you need to fix? He don't need to convict you. You already know. He needs to convict you about the blind spots, about the places you like, oh, I need to go fix that. And I'm in my feelings, right? That's what the Holy Spirit needs to convict us about. But he doesn't need to convict us when we know better. But I encouraged her and I said, but you are making the adjustments mentally. And so even if you can't move your feet yet, as long your mind moving to change your environment will ultimately manifest in your feet moving to change your environment. So we have to acknowledge that it's the internal environment that we have to get under control. All right. Whew. That was a lot. But we got to get these environments together. We have to get our environments together. In order for us to move from here to there, from what we are experiencing that we may not see as abundant, that we may not see as kingdom, to the place that God has already promised you as a child of God that is available to you. It's already yours. You just have to move you into it. But unfortunately, we've been taught the tangible hows. And so I hope that each and every week when we come on here, we can talk about what are the hows of getting from where we are, getting our mindsets from where they are into the thing that God has promised us if we believe in him. I think that's it, y'all. I think that's it for tonight. Yep, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I so greatly appreciate you, because you could be doing anything else with your Friday night, or whenever, if you're catching this on the replay, whenever you happen to be watching it, you could be doing anything else with your time. And so I am grateful that you stopped by here. If you have not liked the Lessons from the Garden Facebook page, please do so. Have you subscribed to the Lessons from the Garden YouTube channel? What you waiting on? You know I need you, right? And always you can follow me on IG at Let Tiff Teach You. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate you, and I will see y'all next week.